The movie's about a young man who has a heart issue. He has a stress issue, and he sort of like lived his life in a very protective manner, trying to kind of just prevent himself from getting too freaked out. He comes from a very eccentric family, and he meets this woman, Krystal.
And she happens to be an ex-stripper, hooker junkie who's in recovery, so he pretends to be in AA to try and woo her.
All of these characters all end up coming together on a journey of trying to figure out their way through their pain. It ends up being quite a mix.
At its core, it's about fear. It's about that voice that everyone has. You're going to fail. Don't even try. You're going to make a fool of yourself. Who do you think you are? That voice often goes hand in hand with addiction. When that voice is speaking, that voice has a face. And Taylor, Nick's character, he sees that face in the form of which he assumes is Satan. And he beats the devil. And the way he does it is by meeting the woman of his dreams who has her own issues. It's a very adult story.
Krystal, you know, I remember Bill had wanted us to do accents, and I didn't get time, honestly, to really work on one, and I was going to do sort of like an Atlanta Southern accent, and I ended up not doing it, and some other folks as well. So it was kind of nice, actually, because it felt like it gave her a little bit of a backstory, you know, kind of coming from a different town or a different place, and she'd had a different life, and, you know, I could imagine, you know, she had wanted to be in entertainment, dancing, or just have a vivacious sort of experience, and she kind of got caught up in drugs and got pregnant young. And, you know, when you start off the film, she's in a place where she's trying to get herself together, and she's trying to be more of a mom and like really make those steps, and she's been kind of at it for a couple months, but it's flimsy. It hasn't really come from a strong, real place. She has a desire there, and she's probably tried this many, many times to get clean and kind of step up her game, but she's just never really been able to kind of do it.
Taylor is, he's our protagonist. He's like kind of the heart and soul of the story. He's the one that sets everything into motion. He's like kind of a small town boy, been sheltered his whole life and grew up in this really brilliant family. And so he's been overshadowed by his parents and his brother his whole life. And he finally finds his calling in the form of Krystal when he meets her on the beach. They kind of are two broken people that meet at just the right time, and they go on this whole crazy adventure together. And over the course of the story, I think Taylor kind of finds out what his real sort of strengths are, because before that he didn't have his own calling. You know, everyone else in the family had something. His mom's a poet, his dad's a famous writer, his brother's a successful painter, and he's kind of the odd man out.
From my perspective, my character views Nick as a fly at a picnic. You know, I mean, not a threat, just a nuisance. And, you know, I don't think that he viewed Nick as a worthy adversary. And I don't think that he assumed or believed that there would be as much back and forth of it all with this young man. I think he kind of seen it as something to pick up and discard and move on with the agenda that he had set forth. And I think he sees that it's probably one of the most underestimated battles that he's ever encountered.
When we meet Bo, he's in sobriety, fear of still wanting to be accepted by my peers, even though they're a group of sobriety, sober individuals. I still carry a lot of anxiety that I had at the age of 12. That in stepping into this world, the further I get into my own sobriety and the more accepting I become, that fear is just fuel, and I don't have to let it be my fuel. It can be the devil's fuel, but I don't have to have it power my engine.
Vera Greenwood runs the Greenwood Gallery in this little town, and she features local artists. And at first when you go in her gallery, you think she's very sedate. It's very simple, you know, paintings on the walls. But Vera's not in AA for nothing. You know, she's got a wild past, and I look at her as being a child of the 60s. And she's watched Taylor grow up all of his life, and she sort of looks at him like a grandson. And also the fact that Taylor's so young and that she can see him falling in love. And it's that thing that older people always mistake. They think they can convince a young person to enjoy their youth and not feel worried all the time. And I think she falls into that trap, but she still tries. She wants him to embrace his youth and to make the memories that she still looks back on with fondness.
Campbell he's a fun guy for me to play. He's a stoner, but he's also a successful painter, and he has been for, I think the way it was explained to me, like 10 years or so. He's kind of had the ultimate success as a painter, along with the rest of his family other than his younger brother, who's never really had his niche. Campbell gets one look at Krystal and is like, dude, this girl is too much for you, man. But at the same time is taken in right away himself, and Campbell is just as infatuated with Krystal as Taylor is. It's kind of giving him a hard time about it, but looking out for him as well. I mean, he wants what's best for Taylor. It's been great. It's a great cast. Sadly, I wish I could be here for more of it. It's been relaxing making this film. It's been a nice experience.
Bobby is this kid who pretty much grew up with a single mother. Father passed away when he was younger, and from a car accident they had, which caused him to be paralyzed, and just been dealing with life, after that. Dealing with, his mom being addicted to drugs, and just sort of going through that temptation with her, but he loves her to death. He wouldn't change it for the world. You go, Mama.
11 years ago, I sent Bill the script to act in the movie. It was either to play Wyatt or Dr. Farley. And I got a call from our shared agency. Hey, would you mind getting on the phone with Bill Macy? He's interested in throwing his hat in the ring to direct the movie. And it was sort of like, in my mind, in that moment, I was like, I don't care how this conversation goes, this guy's going to direct this movie. And I just knew before we even got on the phone. And we had numerous conversations about getting the movie made, and it took a very long time, but we do like to joke around that if independent films were easy to get made, we probably would have made the movie, moved on, and we wouldn't be great friends. So we try to see the lemonade in having taken so long to get the movie made.
Rachel and I have been completely collaborative on this, including all the tweaks to the script, on casting, everything. It's been hand in hand. I haven't made a move without her. And on set, I don't make a move without her. And I think we work together really well. She's the reason the film is getting made.
You want to go again then?
Well, are you going to on him?
We're going to a two-shot. Let's do one more like this.
Yeah.
Will Aldis, the writer, did a really good job of writing this in a way that feels like the South. Not only does the town that we shot it in, McDonough, feel like the South, but literally the way he writes the words and they flow off people's tongues has rhythm, and it feels like something that would be said in the South. And the poetry of the slow-moving South hopefully feels like a part of the movie, like it's another member of the cast.
It's written by Will Aldis, and it's written as, it's sweet and a love story, but it's also a farce. So I don't think you could get a better director for farce than William Macy, because he's funny and understands timing from his years in the theater, and farce has a particular style to it. And it's fast-paced, it's surprising, it's a little wacky, it's kooky, it's a little bit silly. But you also have to throw in order for it to work. You have to throw in heartfelt moments and frightening moments, and I think that's all in there.
Reading Krystal for the first time was one of those rare experiences where by the time I got to the end of page 1, I had a sense of there was something new and original going on in the dialogue. And it seemed that the more that the story unfolded and the more that I read all the way to the end, I called my agent back and said, I'd love to talk to Phil Macy about this, because I think it's just incredibly unique and great. When I heard that Bill was directing it, You know, which was interesting because I'd never worked with him as a director, but I'm a fan of his as an actor. But even with that, it really, you know, to be honest, is neither here nor there. It still comes down to the material. No matter who's directing it, you know, is it something that speaks to one?
Directing is particularly odd for me. Directing is odd anyway, but odd for me because I'm in the tribe. I'm an actor. I've done it most of my life, and this directing is a new thing for me. So from this perspective of watching the actors get to know each other and seeing them develop the relationship both on camera and off camera, when I'm in it myself as an actor, it doesn't seem remarkable, but as a director standing back and watching it, it seems quite remarkable to me.
So let's cut and go again.
The actor's purview is this big. A good actor just does one tiny moment at a time. And when you finish that moment, you go on to the next. If you've done enough moments, you just did Hamlet. But it's one tiny moment at a time. A director's purview and a producer's purview is the world. It's the whole thing all the time. The jury's out as to whether this is a good thing for me to be doing for a living because I'm really good in the little moments. We'll see if I can handle the whole world. But I'll tell you one thing. At this stage in my career and at this age, when I directed my first film, I hadn't been that alive in many years. It's hard to be more alive than this. We'll finish, at the end of the day, someone will mention something that we shot in the morning, and I can't believe it was the same day. It feels like it was a week ago. These days are endless, and the concentration is just stunning. My parents would be so proud that I could concentrate this long, this hard for this long. I loved Adam's reel, and if I can be honest, I don't know what to ask a DP. I didn't know what to ask him, and so I just told him, I don't know what to ask you. Tell me what to ask you. I don't know how to choose this. And he said, what do you want the film to look like? And I thought for a second, and I said, you're real. Make it look like you're real. I knew I wanted it to be warm, and that's what he does. I knew I wanted more reds than greens. He is sorely tested on this because, you know, it's an indie. Our budget is very, very small, so he doesn't have half the stuff he needs. And I keep demanding that he make it perfect, and somehow he keeps doing it.
What I hope audiences take away from Krystal is that it's a lovely evening at the theater. You go in, you're surprised, you're taken on a journey that was unexpected, you were moved, and you leave the movie theater a little happier and a little more hopeful than you went in.
I want to see a story that's got a lot of heart, that speaks about the human condition. What does it mean to be alive? Call me old, but I just want comedies now. We don't need no ghost from the grave to tell us that life is tough. I know that. I want truthfulness. I want to be surprised. I want to not know where the plot is going. I want it to be adult, speak to me as a 60-some-odd-year-old man. I like comic books, but I don't want to make a steady diet out of it, and this one rang all my bells. It's a delightful, truthful, hysterically funny script with great characters.